The Silver Surfer. The man, the myth, the legend. The underrated legend. One of Marvel's and one of comic books' greatest superheroes is so underrated and criminally underrated. I just wanted to show you guys my badass Silver Surfer collection. Got my Silver Surfer toys. That's my biggest one. I also got this one. Very cool. And I have this special 90s Fantastic Four Silver Surfer action figure. I think it's the coolest one because of the shine. I love the Silver Surfer. He's one of my favorite superheroes. Now, the Surfer is actually kind of a Fantastic Four character because he first appeared in the 1960s, and what I always loved and found interesting about his character is that he originally started off as a villain, and he became a good guy because he was the herald to Galactus. I love this comic because this actually explains the origin of the Surfer, and it shows him on his home planet. I'm just pissed off at Marvel for not giving the Surfer his due. They just, don't talk about the Surfer. Every time Marvel shows all their superheroes, they don't bring up the Surfer. It's always Hulk, Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil even. The Surfer is, kind of ignored. He's almost, viewed like he's not as important of a superhero. There was a Silver Surfer cartoon in the 90s, and it was very short-lived. So let's check this stuff out. Let's check it out. I got the Silver Surfer NES game, which is hard as fuck. And it's it makes you wonder, is it too hard and then that makes the game bad? Or, I don't know. What's hilarious is the game over screen. I've never seen a game over screen before that makes you feel like such a complete goddamn failure in your whole life.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get...
Like the game makes you feel bad for playing it, and it's too bad because this is the only Silver Surfer video game, at least to my knowledge. You know what I think people should do? They should hack the game and make it easier to play. What pisses me off is that everything else about the game is cool. The levels are cool, the graphics are cool, the music is amazing. They even put it on vinyl. I love that the game actually has villains from the Silver Surfer comics in it, like Fire Lord and stuff like that. I know who they are because I read a lot of surfers. But other than that, it's just the gameplay's too difficult. So that's what pisses me off about this game so much. Pisses me off is that everything else about it is good. It's just that the damn gameplay is too difficult. And it's close but no goddamn cigar. People should hack this game and make it easier to play. But the problem is that people just don't care about this game to do that. People only do that towards games that they really, really care about. They're not going to do it for this. And I also have this, part of my Silver Surfer collection. This guy, Joe Satriani, can't pronounce his name right, it probably fucked that up. But he's this badass guitarist from the 80s. He made this album called Surfing with the Alien. And all the songs have nothing to do with the Surfer. Absolutely nothing. But he's so cool that he included the Surfer on his cover of the album. How sick is that? Surfing with the Alien. Love that shit. Recommend this for any Silver Surfer fan. And the only time the Surfer went to the silver screen. Perfect. The Power Cosmic Edition. I didn't like the actors that portrayed the Fantastic Four in the two movies they made. So watching this movie is bittersweet because the Surfer is awesome in it. It's the only time he was put in a movie, which is ridiculous. He's the only good part of the movie. Everything else about it, like the actors that portray the Fantastic Four, they're kind of crappy. So it's a mixed bag, and that's what I don't like about it. But I do love this cover, and I do want to rewatch this movie because the Surfer was so cool in it. The Power Cosmic Edition, that is awesome because all us Surfer fans know the Surfer has the Power Cosmic.
I must summon all the power cosmic within me and use it to recreate that which the virus would destroy.
Very cool. I really hope they make a new Silver Surfer movie and make it all about him and just call it Silver Surfer. Not, Fantastic Four with the Silver Surfer. It was a cool idea, though, because, he did start off as a villain. Almost. Kind of like an anti-hero. Anyway, let's take a look at my Surfer comics, guys. I love the Silver Surfer comics, and basically he was around in the 60s and not much in the 70s. Then they started bringing it back in like the late 80s. And like the late 80s and the early 90s are like the golden age of the Surfer comics, in my opinion. Like the late 80s, early 90s period, like 91 to like 94. 91 to 93 is the golden age of Silver Surfer. Ironic, golden age, the Silver Age. This is like issue number 1 from the 1980s. Look at that. This is when they brought him back, when they didn't do much with him in the 70s. Love this cover. This is like a legendary. I got this reprint of Fantastic Four issue. Got the Surfer there. Enter the Silver Surfer. Any Marvel fans notice they put the white picture of a Marvel character's face on the side, even though Spider-Man or another character's not in the comic? I always thought that was really cool. Now here's my Surfer comics from the 80s era. Okay, so this one is like from the late 80s, and this is when the logo looked like this. Like this cover because, you know, he's dressed like a pirate. I always loved the Surfer covers. Look at that. Rainbow, that is awesome. The villains, the Surfer fights are so cool, and a lot of them are only, like, mostly just appear in the Surfer comics. Like, I would argue Thanos is actually more of a Silver Surfer character because the Surfer fights Thanos a couple of times over the years. Oh, I love this cover so much. This guy is so cool that he fights Midnight, or whatever his name is. I forget. Midnight Sun, I haven't read this in a long time. That might be his name. You guys will know, though. Really, really cool. I mean, he's like the Surfer, you know? But he's not as powerful as the Surfer. Love that cover. The fighting was always awesome in the Surfer comics. What I loved about the Surfer comics is that they're very psychological. He talks, like, deeply in... like in the depths of his mind. He gets very philosophical and deep and stuff. Very unique looking creature he's fighting here, the dragon octopus, right? See, the imagination on the Surfer comics is so cool. I love this right here, the Surfer and like his silver like bird he's riding here. Now I don't have all the Surfer comics yet, so maybe his silver bird returns in another comic, but as far as my knowledge goes, I can only remember it in this issue, which is kind of a shame because that is so cool. But when you think about it, what does the Surfer need his big bird for? You know, Superman had animal friends and Batman, whatever. Surfer doesn't need that. He's got a surfboard. This is unfortunately my last of the 80s Silver Surfer comics. They're hard to find these days, but look how cool this is. Got Galactus in there. 90s era. The 90s was when the Surfer like was treated well, and I would argue it's like his boom period as a character because that's when the cartoon came out on Fox Kids. Oh yeah, and there was also that really great commercial where Silver Surfer interacted with Hank Hill from King of the Hill. That was hilarious when he's trying to sell him propane.
Mr. Surfer, have you ever considered propane as an alternative energy source for that board of yours? With a little retooling, I could get it to work. Tell you what I'm gonna do. Being that you're my neighbor and I like you, I'm gonna give you the new neighbor discount and a free t-shirt. So what do you say?
Take a ride on the Cosmic Tide on an all-new Silver Surfer next, as Fox Kids Heads for the Hills continues.
Just think, with repeat business like that, I could eventually be supplying propane galaxy-wide.
Look at that. Gold on the front. That's awesome. This is like the late 90s, 96. Now, this one I actually had since I was a kid. This is my original that I saved all these years, July 1995. Love how he's coming out of like the bank door. The bank door is like gold, but it's usually silver. And it's like he's walking out because he is silver. He is special, you know. This is a cool looking cover, 95. I didn't have this since I was a kid, but it's very cool looking. This is a really cool cover. I love this cover. I don't have much of these ones where the cover looked like this. Oh, this is one of the coolest looking covers. January 97. I love 1997. One of the greatest years of the 90s. And the guilty shall not go free. Awesome. Awesome. You got like Egyptian stuff going on here. Awesome. Badass. Cool. Very cool. 90s Surfer era. Oh yeah, this is one of the coolest looking ones. Got this stuff going on right here. Look at that. That's what they used to do in the 90s with the holographic stuff. How awesome is that? Yeah, like the 90s finally giving the Surfer his badass due. It's like in the 90s they realized what they had, and they realized what untapped potential that they have with the Surfer, and what comics they could have had in the 70s that they didn't use. So awesome. And you got the back there, like Mephisto. Mephisto is actually kind of like a Surfer villain too. He fights him quite a bit, like hell or whatever. Oh, I love this one. Look at that. 75th issue. So cool. You even have it up there. You got all the villains he's fought over the years. Love that. You know, it's like he's out in space and he has to think a lot because he's been through a lot as a character, like the stuff he's seen and who he is and the mystery of who he is. So that's why he thinks so deep all the time. Look at this cover. Oh my God. Rules. This is probably one of the best looking covers.
You shall pay for your colossal conceit.
Love this one. Pretty cool. The Living Bomb. Yeah, this guy, the Tyrant or whatever, he's a fucking weirdo. But he was very powerful and they all tried to defeat him at that time. It wasn't just the Surfer that fought him, I think. Maybe he's just a Surfer villain. I can't remember. Look at that. Now, I think that's Adam Warlock. I can't remember if it is. I think it is. I actually learned who Adam Warlock is because of the Surfer comics, because he's really more of a Silver Surfer character, Adam Warlock. Coon or whatever. Cahoon, whatever. Pretty cool. Now, the Surfer's powers are mysterious, so it's always like a little difficult for the writers to figure out who's more powerful. I mean, he's extremely powerful, so... Oh, look at that. That's one of the coolest looking comic covers, right? Now, this is the early 90s era, like 91 to 93 era. It's him fighting the Rhino. The Rhino was usually... No, that's Adam Warlock, I think. Not the other guy I mentioned. But I love this cover. Yeah, this is when he fights the Jack of Hearts. You know, I read this comic, and from what I can recall, he doesn't actually fight him in it. So this cover is bullshit. But it looks awesome. I think they talk in it. They have they fight in words. They do fight in other ones, but that's why this cover is so weird. I love this cover, though. Maybe I don't remember. Maybe they do fight. Look at that. Now, this is the 50th issue. So you got Thanos in the back. Now, Thanos, at the time, he was like... They were trying to say he was like the most powerful being in the universe. And then it's like, what about the Surfer? He's like one of the most powerful beings in the universe. So it made him to be like a perfect rival to Thanos, because Thanos is mysterious, has mysterious powers too. Oh, look at that. It's sick. Silver, because it's Silver Surfer. Jack of Hearts again. I actually made my own comic book character inspired by the Jack of Hearts called the King of Hearts in my Jay the Archer series. I've made hundreds of comics, by the way, guys. Maybe I'll talk to you about those eventually. This is the Surfer fighting like the Nega Surfer, like the Surfer from another dimension. Oh, I think I remember this. Like, he encounters him in space, and then at the end, it's like he was never really there. So he was like fighting with himself. How awesome is that? Because of the Surfer's mysterious nature, and he's like always in space and traveling to other planets, it's like there's all these like creative things you can do with the character and the adventures he has that are more vast and more interesting than stuff Spider-Man would do, or, you know, Iron Man or whatever, because he's always in outer space, so he's more interesting as a character, in my opinion. Now, this one I've had since I was a kid. This one rules. I always love this cover. That villain with the stupid name comes back, gearing up the Infinity War stuff, the crossover. Because the Infinity War stuff was going on its own thing, and then the Surfer like blended in with the storyline too. It was part of it. Kill him, Captain Atlas! With pleasure, Dr. Minerva. There's lots of action in this one. Love this one. Now, I love this one because you got all these characters that are like Silver Surfer characters, and they're weird and creative like he is. Like, people do not know who they are for the most part. And I remember their names, but I think he's Fire Lord from the NES game. He's awesome. I forget his name. And they showed him a lot, fighting the Surfer a lot. He's a jackass. But anyway, this cover is awesome because it like brings them all together. This one's pretty cool. Got like a biker gang fighting him and shit. All the different like surfers for like, surf's up, dude. Yeah, Warlock, Adam Warlock. So this is like an Adam Warlock Silver Surfer crossover. In the clutches of Mephisto. See, that's Adam Warlock. I actually have an action figure of him. So this isn't just a Surfer comic, but it is. This is like the Resurrection series. Look how awesome that cover is. Fucking badass. Now, I have to say, who has the greatest surfboard of all time? The Surfer does. His board is legendary.
To me, my board!
Now, these are the new Surfer comics. Some of them I like, and some of them I hate. But I kept the ones I loved, because some of them are a mixed bag. Now, these are the new Surfer comics. It's called Silver Surfer Black. I think they're awesome. I need to buy more of them. I could have swore I had more guys, but this is one of them. And these new ones, like, the covers are more creative. Kind of like Goku Black or Frieza Black. No, I'm just kidding, but it makes me think of that. This is another new one, Silver Surfer Requiem. One of the coolest covers. These new ones, like, the covers are sick. This one's one of the best ones. It's like a special one. This one's really cool. These are like the 2010s era, these Surfer comics. These 2010s ones. It's when that shitty new Thor movie was coming out, 2011. It's not new anymore. The Prodigal Son, Silver Surfer. Oh, look at that. Oh, that's sick, right?
I have been a part of too much tragedy, Pep, to turn away from what may be another's plight.
Badass! I lost this one. I recently found it for this video. It's one of the best ones, actually. Like the stuff that goes on in it. I know I haven't shown you any of them because a lot of them are wrapped up. Look at that. Oh, man. Yeah, like he talks in space. He has these monologues in space, you know, about who he is and stuff, and the mystery of, like, what is his job to be? What is the purpose of his existence in outer space, the cosmos?
For the first time since I became the Silver Surfer, do I fully understand why the universe needs me. I will not allow it to die!
Silver Surfer, in thy name. These are one of the coolest series. This is like the 2010s, I think. Love that title. The title rules. It's one of the coolest looking covers. Here's another one. It's not as cool, but, you know, it's still pretty cool. Got to get more of the in thy name. Now, these are like the brand new ones. A lot of these really suck, these new ones. But I kept the ones I loved. Like, this one is awesome, right? Firing a beam inside Galactus's mouth. Go to the dentist. Oh! All right. See, like, this one is cool, so that's why I kept it. Some of the fights are cool in them, and I like the art. I'm not a big fan of the art, actually, style in these. They're a little too, I don't know, but they're kind of cool. I don't know what's going on with the new logo. I think it's supposed to be like a throwback to the 60s or whatever. This one's kind of a cool cover, right? Because you see him bouncing around, fighting that guy who looks like frickin' Black Manta, who had the coolest voice in the Super Friends. You guys remember that?
Prepare to lose, Aquaman!
And now, Galactus! Awesome, look at that. And what I loved about the Surfer fighting back against Galactus in the 60s, before he went his separate ways and had all these other adventures in like the 80s and 90s, is that back in like the 60s and 70s or whatever, he was not as powerful as Galactus, and he put up with his shit for so long, and he was like, you know what, no, you're just using me, and I feel differently about what we're doing. We don't have to destroy every goddamn planet. And I love that the Surfer, he fought against him despite the fact that he's like 10 times more powerful than he is.
I must make my stand.
Your stand will destroy you.
Better to perish for what I believe in than endure forever as a traitor to life.
The Surfer is no slouch because Galactus gave him some of his energy when they were fighting over the years. This is my little video, my tribute video to one of the greatest, most underrated superheroes of all time, the great Silver Surfer. I hope you guys like this video, and I hope that they make a new Silver Surfer movie, and I hope that the Surfer gets acknowledged, gets the kind of attention he deserves as a superhero legend, instead of always being like tossed to the side. Like it's always about the Fantastic Four or the other Marvel characters. It's like, no, the fucking Surfer, man. The Surfer is an underrated superhero. He definitely deserves to have more movie appearances and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching. Surf's up, bros.
I have much to learn of the ways of human beings. It is true, you are slaves of greed and fear. And yet, there is a nobility in your hearts that cannot be denied. Perhaps one day I will understand.